everyone, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence Gardino. The week begins on Monday, March the 30th, and the moon is void of course all day long. I've mentioned this in the past. It's when the moon, which sets the public tone, is not making any other aspects to planets until it changes signs. The moon goes from sign to sign every 2.5 days. When the moon is void of course, it's just best to stay the course. Don't be initiating any important new activities. On Monday also, ambitious Mars, for the first time in 2 years, is entering Aquarius, which it will be there for about 6 weeks. The Mars had been in Capricorn the previous 6 weeks, and that Capricorn is very goal-oriented. Mars is very ambitious and driven. But now, with Mars going into Aquarius and joining Saturn, that recently went into Aquarius till the end of June, which is a preview of coming attractions when Saturn returns to Aquarius in December 2020 and will be there for a couple of years. The Aquarius deals with the collective, with groups, with our friendships, as opposed to that Capricorn, which is more goal-oriented for your own achievements. Aquarius is also the sign of the future, of progress, of technology, of science, and with the Saturn going to be there, there's a lot of responsibility towards innovation and for supporting the collective or working in harmony with the collective. And now the Mars, starting on Monday, the Mars is just kind of that kick in the pants, that motivation, that drive. So on Tuesday, the moon will now be direct, moving through Cancer. Cancer can be moody, nurturing, emotional. But the Mars is now exactly aligning with Saturn. And two things can happen here. Because the positive is that Mars is that ambitious, driven energy that Saturn can contain and channel effectively. So there could be a lot accomplished on this day. Great for starting a major new project, starting an important new job. Now, with all that effort, Mars-Saturn can still be exhausting. But if you don't have a goal to work on, then the Mars is just feeling like it's being inhibited and frustrated with nowhere to go. And so it's a time of anger, resentment, irritability, and still being exhausted from the stress. So if you don't have anything on your plate, you can always be doing major house cleaning, home repairs, working in the backyard if you're so lucky. If you don't have a big project to sink your teeth into, there's always something you can create, and then you can accomplish a lot starting on Tuesday, lingering into Wednesday. Wednesday, now the moon in sensitive Cancer is going to be in harmony with discerning communication Mercury, good for socializing, and then later it's going to be in harmony with Neptune. Moon Neptune is empathetic, intuitive, sensitive, so it's a very caring day. On Thursday, the moon in the early part of the day will be in harmony with socializing, loving Venus. So the first part of Thursday could be really good for connecting with loved ones. But then the moon moves into dramatic, fiery, outgoing Leo. When the moon's in Cancer, more the homebody, But when the moon goes into Leo, we want to go out and shine. And the moon will go into Leo at 11:27 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. But as the moon goes right into Leo, within that hour or two, it's going to be in direct opposition to Mars and Saturn. Moon Mars in opposition could be some ego dispute, some impulsiveness, some recklessness. With the Saturn, it could be because you're feeling really frustrated. So you want to breathe that when after the moon goes into Leo at the 11:27 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then later in the day, then after the moon is stopped warring with Mars and Saturn, it's going to slam up and form a hard angle to Uranus. So that brings a lot of instability. So the first part of the day, before 11:27 a.m. Pacific Time, because that's very harmonious with the moon connecting with loving Venus. But after that, it's probably best to go exercise, take a good long walk, meditate. Don't react to all the stresses, because you're only going to feel like you're trying to put a square peg into a round hole. So just let it go. Friday is important because Venus, pleasure-seeking, sociable, loving Venus, is moving into Gemini. Now, Venus goes into Gemini for about a month, once a year. But Venus is going to go retrograde in mid-May for about 6 weeks, till the end of June. As it retrogrades, it appears to be going backwards, but it's still in the sign of Gemini. The end of June, around the 25th of June, then the Venus starts to move forwards. Venus retrograde is a time of reevaluating relationships. But then the Venus is moving forwards and remaining in Gemini until August the 7th. So Venus is going to be in Gemini 4 times longer than usual, certainly making much more of an impact where Gemini influences your chart. But Gemini tends to be very talkative, wants connections, wants communications, and Venus is also very social. So this is overall, depending on how it's affecting your astrology chart, it's certainly a much more sociable time. On Saturday, now the Venus will be in harmony with Saturn. That brings stability and longevity and grounding with relationships. But Saturn is business. Venus likes the finer things in life. So this Venus-Saturn could be very favorable for business, especially also expansive Jupiter is aligning with Pluto on that Saturday. Now, Jupiter was aligning with Pluto from these last several days as we go in, a few days before the 30th up until a few days after the 4th. But it's exact on Saturday. So it's like the peak of the more powerful, intense energy. Pluto wants powerful change. Jupiter brings the opportunity and the growth and the luck. Mixed with Venus in harmony with Saturn, a really good day for business. And on Sunday, the moon is now in Virgo. Virgo is service-oriented, work-oriented, so a lot can be done. In fact, the whole weekend with the Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto, moon in Virgo, that whole weekend is good for meetings, for interviews, for starting new projects, and for accomplishing a great deal. So, before I sign off, I want to remind you I'm available for the one-question offer for a nominal fee, and you can find a direct link to order it in the description box below the video. And with your question, please post your time of birth and your birthday again. The time of birth is really important for giving more accurate predictions. So I want to thank you for watching. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, have a great week.